Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video. Today's video is featuring a customized project. So my nephew recently was having his white coat ceremony and I was looking around for a dye that would fit my needs, except I couldn't find one. So instead I turned my fishing vest dye into the kind of white sport coat, doctor's coat dye that I needed. There is a little bit of kind of customization, but the main pieces parts are from the die. So I cut out the base piece and then the two sides of the jacket. I also cut out the large pocket and then the flat pieces that go behind the zipper. And I cut them all out of white. Obviously my coat is white, but you would want to cut these pieces out of whatever color you want your sport coat and its pocket to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and run these through my Platinum 6. This actually came together really, really easily, which was a surprise because normally when I'm customizing things, sometimes there's like a little bit of a hang up. Here, I did cut out that base piece again out of some blue cardstock because I thought that I was going to need it for the inside of my shirt, but actually the shirt that I ended up being able to make, which you can do with just cardstock and a bone folder, was fit in there perfectly. So here's kind of what we're working with here. Here is the vest, which by the way is a great, fantastic vest, and you can use it for more things than just the fishing vest. But from here, I'm just laying everything out so I can see how it's going to work. And then I'm going to go in here. You do want to make sure when you're cutting out your pieces that you kind of keep enough area surrounding it because we are going to use those areas, specifically the areas to the left and the right of the vest. Those are going to become the arms of our suit coat, or in my case, doctor's jacket. So just those two kind of pieces. I'm going to lay these onto my card. So you can see I'm lining them up, and then I'm going to fit the vest into the base piece of the vest back into where I die cut it out. And then from there, I can use a pencil to draw the angle of the shoulders for the shirt sleeves. Now, is there a way to do this without doing what I'm doing? Probably. You could probably just use a regular piece of cardstock to just fill in those areas at the right angle, but in my defense, it was very late, very early in the morning, very late at night. And I was getting ready to leave the next morning to go to Tennessee for his white coat ceremony. Nothing like waiting to the last minute, right? So here I've drawn those lines with the pencils. I'm going to cut the first one and then I will flip it over onto the other side, and I was pretty close, like matching up the pencil lines, but I'm just going to hold that in place while I cut them again. Now, if you guys remember, I haven't even told that story yet about the fundraiser that I threw a week ago, a little over a week ago. When I did the fundraiser, I took all of my good scissors with me so that we could use them to open up packages and stuff. So here I'm in the streets with these old scissors. Now, they're cutter bees, so they're good scissors. But I was not kind to mine. And so they have chips and dings and they're not good sharp scissors anymore. And of course, so that would be the time that I would pick to customize a card because why wouldn't I? So here I have a piece that is about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, somewhere in between there. And that just depends on the size that you have. It was just a scrap I had laying on my desk. I did lay it down and left it at an angle from the collar to where the jacket folds, where it meets, where the buttons meet. And so then I just did that on each side and then cut them. Here, this is a little bit of freehanding. So basically what you're going to draw is 2 triangles, or if it's easier for you to picture it, you could picture it as 2 little mountains that are going to meet. So you're going to have a short mountain and a tall mountain. And I am just freehanding it with a pencil. And you could see I'm kind of messing around here to see which way should overlap. And then Once I have that down with the freehanding, it does not have to be perfection, just enough to give us the look. And then for his particular doctor's coat, it has that kind of V collar. I am then going to go in with my ruler and go over those same lines and just make sure that they're straight and crisp. So don't be afraid to get in there and kind of freehand it, see what you got going on, and then you can go in with a ruler and make sure that everything is lining up. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm creating a template. So I can keep this for any future cards that I might want to create. Because in this case, I am creating it for his white coat ceremony. But you could use this for a sport coat for graduation, for promotions. It doesn't even have to necessarily be masculine. If you have somebody who's graduating medical school, nurse practitioner, this would work for any of those, or simply, honestly, just like a Father's Day card. If you need a card for those things. So here I've cut out my template and then I've laid it there to make sure I'm happy with how it's looking. I am. So then for the other piece, I'm going to flip it over and then I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to trace around it. And then I will be able to cut it out. If you're not interested in making this card again, you don't need to make the template. You could just take these two pieces and use those. But I made them so that way I would be able to hang on to this and I would be able to make it again in the future. And then I just cut that out. Once I had them done, my templates traced and trimmed out, then I am going to go in. You want to be gentle with your eraser, but I'm going to go in and erase my lines. For the shirt, this is an A2 size card, which is 4¼ by 5½. On the top, I'm going to score it at 1/4 inch, and then I'm going to score it again in the center, which is what, 2 2 3/4. No, it's not 2 3/4. What's that math? No, I'm completely off. It's 2 1/8. That's where we score at, in the middle. And then here you can see I'm kind of gently folding this up. This is Cloudy Sky, I think, or Nimbus, one of the other two, from Altenew. So it's an 80-pound cardstock, so it is pretty sturdy. But I was just folded it over gently, and then I scored it with my bone folder. Now here, to make the collar, I'm going to make it so that the part that I scored is down, and then I'm going to bend it back to touch the center that we scored. And then again, I'm going to reinforce that with the bone folder. This is going to create the collar portion of our shirt. And here you can just see me laying this out and double checking that it is going to kind of go edge to edge, and it does. So now we have our jacket pieces and then the collared shirt that goes underneath. The next thing that I need to do is the tie. So I chose the colors that I chose because these are the colors that matches dental school. So here the length doesn't matter so much. I did go with 1 inch. And then I am going to score this at 1/2 inch, so right down the center. The length, you just want to make sure it's long enough to tuck into your coat. That is a very short section here, so I wasn't overly concerned about it. But anyway, so then I'm going to fold it in half and I'm going to score that. And then you want to draw, so when I'm drawing this, the folded side is on the left-hand side. I'm going to do a diagonal down here at the bottom, which is going to create the bottom of my tie. And then at the top, I'm going to do another diagonal, but it's going to be from the middle, kind of just in, and then this longer one is almost going to come down and touch the outside edge. It's hard to see, but it'll make sense once I trim it. So if I cut the diagonal here, that's going to create the point for our tie. This is kind of like, do you remember back in the day where we used to make the heart with like the two matching sides? That's what we're doing. So now we've cut it down the middle, and then here it will create our little tie. Now the tie needs to tuck under the collar, but not under the rest of the shirt. So I didn't like the way the little pointy bits were sticking out. I'm going to trim those off later. But basically, here's our shirt and tie that are going to go underneath our jacket. So here's where I'm trimming off. I'm just rounding them. You don't really end up being able to see them, but I didn't like the way that the squares, like the square edge was sticking out from there. And you can do these again, whatever colors you like. Because I'm scooting my coat down, I'm going to use this navy as kind of a backer piece up at the top here. I don't need it, like you'll see part of it kind of down there on the bottom is missing, but that's totally okay because I'm going to cover it with the jacket. I will say if I had to do it all over again, I realized too late that my jacket wasn't long enough. I did end up being able to find a workaround for that, but if I had to do it all over again, I would probably position the jacket lower so that you couldn't see the cut edge. But I didn't this time around, and that's okay. It's all a learning experience. You can also this particular die, the vest die, is meant to so you could create an interactive card. So you could do this and then make it so that the lapels, the flaps of the jacket actually open up. I did not do that, but that is an option that you could do. So here I'm just putting down some glue and holding those in place, because remember we're doing the tie, but the tie just has to fit underneath those little bits. So I can glue those down first. And then here we have our shirt, and I can go ahead and adhere that down. Because this is an A2 size, I'm going to have a little bit that kind of hangs over the bottom edge. I don't want it to look like his shirt's untucked, like we're going through all of this work to create kind of like this prim and proper white coat moment. I don't want it to look like his blue shirt is untucked. Though if you have like like a 90s emo punk rock kind of person who you're making a card for, then you absolutely can do an untucked look. That would be adorable. Here is where I'm cutting off the flaps to make the jacket interactive because they kind of wrap around. And then I went ahead and glued these down. Now you can see that blue at the bottom. I'm going to go back to the piece because I don't throw anything away until after my card is done. I'm going to go back to the piece that I die cut out of it, and I'm just going to fit this right up against the base of the jacket so that it all will be white. I did not just want to adhere a piece of white at the bottom because you can see I put the jacket together so that you could kind of see the blue a little bit in the center, so it wasn't just like white on white on white. And so I was worried that if I just tucked a piece of white cardstock underneath there, it would create like an awkward seam. So this seemed like a better option. And I'm not going to end up using the whole piece because parts of it do hang off. So I have to wait until it's nice and dry before I go back into trimming off. Not that I'm going to have good luck trimming it off because remember, I don't have good scissors. So then here, this is the arms that we already cut. I'm just tracing them again to lift them up so that they are, I have 3 layers for my shirt and coat, but so I wanted them to just be lifted a little bit. So I did create a second set just by tracing them. And of course, I'm going to take my beat up disheveled scissors and I'm going to hand cut them. We're just doing the best we can out here, folks. And then for the pocket, this is already cut, but I wanted this kind of like folded over, it would just looked a little bit neater. You could also do like a little handkerchief or pocket square in there as well to add some color. Ours is, I did not do it that way. Because he would not be wearing one because they actually coat them in the ceremony. He got to pick his instructor, and then he goes up on the stage with his coat and hands it to his instructor, and then they actually help them put it on, take pictures, and move on. It was a super fun trip. There was like tons more stories from there. I will give you a brief kind of rundown. We left on a Thursday, came back on a Sunday. We ended up renting an Airbnb, so it was myself and my husband, my oldest sister, which is my nephew's mother, and then my middle sister and her husband. And so we all got to hang out in this Airbnb. It was super fun. We went to a lot of different places. We ended up at a disco. disco night at a bar. We danced in the rain. It was really fun. I'll tell more the stories when I have more time, but it was super fun. Um, but most importantly, we got to see him do his white coat ceremony and spend time with him. So here I am adding those lapels there. Right now, everything is looking a little bit flat because it is white on white. So in order to help that, I'm not going to do a ton of shading. I just took a C3 to add some shadows onto my white coat. So kind of, I took them under where the lapels would go, where like the top part of the lapel, by the way, you could just glue two triangles together if you didn't want to like freehand it. I added some shadows in there where the seams are around the pocket square. I just picked one side or the other of the coat to add a little bit of shading to. I think I picked the left hand side, and then where the seams of the shirts is, I did just a C1, and like just this minute amount of shading, just this little bit really like brings the whole thing to life. The stamp set and die I showed you at the beginning is actually mine, which is Every Happiness, but I really liked the congratulations in there. Shocker, I picked the font. And it felt just very like formal and fitting for the occasion. So I stamped this in navy since I have the navy and kind of like that cloudy blue. And then I went ahead and cut that out using the scout and the coordinating die. And then really that was like kind of like the last little bit of it. I put this right across the bottom. You could just leave the front like this, or you could put it your sentiment on the inside. I thought that it looked nice with it behind it. If you have a small enough one, you could even put it on the pocket, kind of like an embroidered, something. Here, I did go back in after I trimmed this off because it was such a thin piece. I did go back in with an adhesive eraser and just clean that up. I added a little bit of sparkle to his tie because I couldn't help myself. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So I hope this inspires you to look at your dies a little bit differently and see what other uses that you can get out of them. Maybe this is something we'll start to do a little bit more regularly because it's something that I've always enjoyed doing. Thank you guys so much for spending your time with me. I always appreciate you, and I'll catch you on the next video. Bye.